Welcome everyone to the City of Albany Industrial Development Agency Audit Committee meeting. The Chair, Joe Better, and what the record say for the quorum, we have a quorum as I believe all members are present. And the first order of business, it is if we could get a motion as the meeting minutes were already published and available. If I could get a motion to waive reading of the minutes and accept as is, so moved. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Next is unfinished business, and there is none, so we'll move on to new business. And it'll be the first item is the review of the draft 2024 audited financial statements. Hand that off.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kylie Fitzik, a principal in the Veterans Division at the Bonadeo Group. We recently completed the audit, and here is to go over the audit results and financial data at a very high level and answer any questions that any of you may have. With the PowerPoint, there are also two deliverables. So the financial statements and then the required communications, which is what I'll be referring to throughout this PowerPoint. So to kick things off, for the scope of the services, that's the audit of the IDA financial statements, and that's in accordance with the government auditing standards. For a summary of the audit results, we will be issuing an unmodified opinion that the financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with GAAP. An unmodified opinion, that's the highest level of assurance that we as auditors can give you. Also noted within the report that there were no internal control findings or any compliance findings over financial reporting. We want to thank Andy, Tom, and everyone else, all the staff for their assistance. An audit is very much a collaborative effort, so we thank you for your time and the efforts in getting us everything that we needed. So starting out with the required communications letter, within that deliverable, a summarized version of what's noted in there, there were no significant difficulties in performing the audit or dealing with management. No disagreements with management. We are not aware that management consulted with any other accountants, and that our discussions with management were in the normal course of our professional relationship, and our responses were not a condition of our retention. So for the financial statement highlights, referring to first the statement of net position, which can be found on page 8 of the financial statements. At a high level there, just to mention the total current assets for year end as of December 31st, 2024 came in at about $3.9 million. Within the current assets are the cash, the accounts receivable, mortgage receivable, and then due from other agencies. Next up, the non-current assets, that's the IDA capital assets that came in at about $1.4 million. Current liabilities, about $213,000. Within that are the accounts payable, the accrued expenses, the unearned revenue, and then the mortgage payable. And then there's the non-current liabilities, and that's the IDA's lease payable, and that's the $1.4 million. And then the end of year net position that came in at $3.7 million. Next up, for the statement of revenues, expenses, and the changes in net position. You'll see on page 9, net position that came in, or the net position increased about $106,000 from previous years. So from $3.6 million to $3.7 million. Total operating revenue was about $1.4 million. Operating expenses was about $1.2 million. And then lastly, total non-operating expenses, that's the net of the revenues and expenses, which is the interest income and the interest expense. And that was roughly $34,000. And then at the end of that report is the government auditing standards report, which is the yellow book report. And within there, no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies to be reported, as well as no instances of non-compliance material to the financial statements. So that's it we have for the IDA. Again, thank you to Tom, Angie, all the other staff involved in helping us get to the finish line. It was a very successful audit. We thank you for your time. And open to any questions that any of you may have.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone, have any questions? I do not.
Just want to thank Conley and Alan, who was on sabbatical, who's missing this meeting, but they worked in tandem. And Conley was on my day-to-day on this more so, but for engaging this group kind of made the process, I think we had a pretty successful run, and we're happy with the engagement.
Excellent, great. So I think at this point, we're gonna make a motion to recommend this to the full board for approval. Unless there's any other comments. Am I correct, Ellen?
So recommendation to move the draft audit financial statements for 2024.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. All right, can I, so move? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Yeah.
John had a second. Okay, yeah, John was second. That's right. Clear on that. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the review of the draft 2024 Paris report. So again, you guys.
I will start by reviewing the annual report, which is included in the packet. So staff has been working on compiling all the information on this over the last several months. Before we jump into the specific data, I did want to point out, I believe in page 31 to 34 of your packet is some board information. That shouldn't have changed from last year, but if you see anything that needs to change, please let us know. It's pretty straightforward, pretty standard, but let us know. And I will also kind of go into specifics about the information that's contained in this reporting, specifically as it relates to jobs reporting. Cassidy will have the draft annual report on the screen. You also have a handout. You actually have 3 handouts, but we'll start with the leases, which is that big vertical one. And I'll just kind of go through and note anything that's notable, anything that's significant, I'll point out. And if there are any questions along the way, please just stop them and we can go from there. So beginning with the straight leases, this year there were 66 active straight lease projects. Of those, 15 were under construction. 39 of the 51 completed projects are reporting at or above their 8% threshold of committed job levels. 12 of the 51 completed projects are at or below that 80%. Of those, 9 have a recapture provision in place. So I will point those out along the way. And just for some overall jobs figures, 1,311 jobs were reported this year and 1,434 construction jobs were reported. So in that vertical spreadsheet, I will start at the very top. We'll orient ourselves by the rows. So starting with the very first project, which is 1385 Washington Avenue Associates. This project is reporting full employment levels. I did want to note for the committee that they submitted an Excel tax summary in lieu of the New York State 45. In the past, this body has accepted that as in case of it. So I just wanted to note that if there's any questions, let me know. Moving on to row 9, which is 144 State. That one is a little bit different. So this project came before the board in 2023 for a renovation project. It closed in 2024. We have received guidance from the ABO to close out the existing project and we'll begin with a new project starting in this reporting year. Moving on to 40 Steuben LLC. This project is under reporting with 0 out of 3 committed jobs. The property owners have reported that they've found it difficult to find commercial tenants. The property was, the commercial space was vacant upon purchase of the property. And this one does not have a recapture provision in place. Row 14, 4 to 6 Sheridan is under reporting. They have 15 out of 25 committed jobs. The restaurant at that location on Cosina reopened in 2023. They have retained consistent employment since then. We kind of expect that it'll stay around that 15. They're at good staffing levels, but it is under, and they do not have a recapture provision in place. Moving on to row 16, which is 391 Myrtle Ave Medical Office Building. This project is over-reporting with 335 jobs out of a committed 20, which is awesome. They have an increase from last year. Albany Med and moved into new medical practices last year, leading to increased staffing levels. Moving to row 17, which is Aon Nexus Corporation, also over reporting with 29 jobs out of a committed 12. Their current workload requires a larger workforce, which has remained pretty consistent over the last few years. Row 20 is FC 178 WAE, over reporting with 63 jobs out of a committed 44. Albany Internal Medicine has increased the number of positions on staff and also increased their nursing and support staff. Next is row 25, which is Sheridan Hollow Enterprises. They are underreporting with 9 out of 16 committed jobs. Habitat for Humanity, which is one of their commercial tenants, has reduced their staff according to the needs of the organization. They do have a vacant commercial space as well, and they're aiming for a new tenant in 2025. Row 29, which is 363 Ontario Street. I did want to note this project applicant was unsuccessful in retaining one of the New York State 45s for one of their commercial tenants. We do have a letter from the applicant describing their attempts, and this is consistent with what they experienced last year. Row 32 is Harmony Mills South. They are over-reporting with 19 jobs out of the committed 5. This is due to the inclusion of the additional commercial tenants above just their leasing team, which is what the original estimate was based on. And I believe they have another commercial tenant moving in pretty soon as well, so we'll see probably an increase there. Moving on to row 34, which is Laughlin Dawn. They are over-reporting with 10 jobs versus a committed 7. They've added new FTEs to their leasing and maintenance team. Row 36 is 76 North Pearl, also over-reporting with 31 jobs versus a committed 13. Their tenants have maintained a steady workforce. I did want to note this project as well. There was 2 commercial tenants that they were unsuccessful in retrieving New York State 45s with. It is the final reporting year. At this point, we're not expecting to receive those. They've made several attempts, but I think they're continuing to try ahead of the March 31st deadline. Row 38 is 16 Sheridan Ave. They are underreporting with 2 jobs out of committed 12. The commercial tenant at this property, the yard, is mostly operated by the owner, accounting for that decrease. They do have a recapture provision. However, this is the final reporting year for that project. Row 40 is the Swinburne building. They are underreporting with 2 jobs out of a committed 4. These staffing levels reflect the needs of the organization at this time. They do also have a recapture provision. Moving on to row 41, which is Swinburne Commerce. This project is over-reporting with 116 jobs out of a committed 43. Their tenants, Equinox and Whitney Young, are each running efficiently with the current number of FTEs. Row 42, the rep, is underreporting with 15 jobs out of a committed 31. This project it closed right before the pandemic. The pandemic has changed some of their plans. The full service cafe is now only open for events, and the scenery shop was spun off into a different organization, so the FTEs there are not included in that level. Row 43, 39 Columbia Street Association is over with 160 jobs versus a committed 51. Their commercial tenants, Belvedere and Castle Island, maintain large workforces downtown, which is awesome. The very next row, row 44, 45 Columbia, is underreporting. This parking garage is automated, so they don't have any FTEs, and we expect it will continue to stay that way. They do have a recapture provision in place. Row 46, 413 North Pearl, is underreporting with 0 out of 2 jobs. Their tenant, Noteworthy Resources, is all volunteer, accounting for the lack of FTEs. They also do have a recapture provision in place. I did want to note row 48, which is 1211 Western Avenue. There's ongoing conversations regarding this project, but I did want to note they are in full compliance with their reporting. As it relates to end of year.
And we'll have a full,
Yeah.
as best of our ability, we will have a full update to the board next week on the status of that project.
Row 49, 61 North Pearl, they are underreporting with 3 out of 8 committed jobs. They did have 2 new commercial tenants move in this year. That's Ascend Wellness and Fat Boy Sugar Shack. All of their commercial tenants are sole proprietorships, so they are just at lower job levels than expected. They also do have a recapture provision in place. I did want to note 745 Broadway, Albany, quickly. This project came online this year. They're up to full staffing levels. They did submit a payroll report in lieu of New York State 35. Row 54 is 66 State Street Partners. This project is underreporting with 0 out of 1 committed jobs. The commercial tenant continues to be vacant. They are actively soliciting tenants and are finding it challenging to find one. They also do have a recapture provision in place. Row 56 is 21 Erie Associates. They are underreporting with 16 out of 49 committed jobs. One prospective commercial tenant, a brewery, was set to take over. They've encountered some delays. The project applicant reports they're expecting them to move in this year. Additionally, their tenant Huck Finn lost several FTEs due to labor costs and sluggish sales. And then finally for the straight leases, row 59, which is Indus Pad Flare, they are underreporting with 0 out of 35 committed jobs. FYE, the entity that was intended to expand to take over full possession of that property, failed to realize their expansion plans, so that lease has since been terminated. Last we knew, they were actively soliciting a commercial tenant, and we expect that it will be filled soon. So that is the overview for jobs reporting for straight leases. If there's any questions, we can stop here, and I can answer them.
Well, I think we're good.
And just a little bit of color on the projects under reporting. The majority of those projects Olivia just highlighted do not have a pilot. Most of them are sales and mortgage recording tax only. However, as you absorb this material on this data, if you would like us to reach out for any additional information or rationale as to why the jobs were not met above and beyond what was given to us as part of compliance, please let us know. We will do that. Absolutely. And also, this information was examined in depth last month, just as a reminder, and we'll see it again. We won't go into this level of depth next week at the board meeting, but any updates or changes, which we don't expect many to come in, we will have at the board next week. So if anything comes up between now and then, please let us know and we can talk about it next week.
So I will just add to double down, triple down on the majority of our projects are obviously in compliance and meeting their job commitments. And many of which are above those. So just a few minor below. And I wanted to give credit to Olivia once again for taking this on. In addition to a number of other different variety of tasks that Olivia does internally, she's kind of running across the board these days and doing a phenomenal job. So credit to Olivia. Thank you. And Andy for coaching her in that, because this has been a big undertaking.
Thank you. We'll next move on to the bonds, which should have been that big sheet right underneath the statements. We just have a few IDA bonds. We have received jobs reporting for all of them. We are working on the bond numbers, and so thank you to Kylie and your team for working with us on those. They continue to roll in. I believe we got one this morning, so we expect to have those all finalized by the end of the month. From our IDA bond projects, they reported 922 jobs in 2024. The only one I'll note is Renaissance Corp of Albany. They are slightly underreporting with 6 out of 9 committed jobs. This is consistent with what we've seen. They outsource some of their maintenance tasks, and we expect it will likely stay the same going forward. If there's any questions on any of those, I can go through them now.
Board chair also reiterated, great job, Olivia, and thank you for tracking all of this information
Thank
down.
you.
She's watching us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all of this.
Thank you. So with that, that's really the end of the annual reporting update. As you can see, we have the draft clearance report. It's still living and breathing. We are mostly there. Any changes that come between this week and next, we will report to the board meeting. We are on track to submit by our March 30th deadline.
And as the spreadsheet indicates, we are still working to pull in some bond confirms, so that we would suspect that would be the only update for the most part next week. And just to give some color to that, that is simply the trustee or custodial bank confirming the beginning and ending balance in 2024 of the bond.
All right, So based on this, so unless there are any other questions from on any of these areas in the group. Any questions on the board? All right, so could I again get a motion for a positive recommendation for final approval to the full board of the 2024 Paris, all four of the 2024 annual reports, Paris reports. All eight, the procurement, the annual procurement investment and mission statement. So moved.
Second.
And we'll run through all those right now too.
Oh, you wanna go through? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yep. All right, wanna do, before we'll take the, do you want?
Sure.
Yeah.
So very briefly, we've got some sub-reports here, a crosswalk between the draft Paris and the draft annual audit. The procurement and the investment reports. So the materials are in front of you. Again, slight differences in presentation between the audit and Paris. Mostly with grouping, so some of the restricted cash, non-current and current assets, you're gonna see a difference there, same values, but the categorization is a little bit different. And then the receivables are grouped differently. Audit presents them individual line items, and Paris they're presented as a net basis. Net assets for year end, as they reported, a little over 3.7 million. That represents an increase of almost 3% from prior year.
What page are you working off of right now?
23.
23, okay.
So for the procurement report. Just so going.
121.
Yeah.
Is procurement. 121 to 125.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got the same numbers on the graph.
So starting on page 121, you'll see the procurement report for fiscal year ending 12/31/24. There are 7 vendors. Last year we did have 10, so that's really just a function of what hits against the reporting threshold of $5,000. There was a WVE to report, ZHA, number 7. But again, this is just a straightforward run through of procurements over 5,000. And the decline here reported a decrease of 3 from prior year.
The bulk of these are the third-party consultants that we contract with, our audit team on an annual basis. So it was a little bit more compressed this past year, I think, with a little bit of a decrease in project activity.
Okay, and this is just one page, so this is 126, the investment report. We are compliant. I did pull the statute, if anyone has any questions about compliance with section 2925. Paragraph 3, subsection F of the PAL, I do have that to restate if anyone is interested. Basically just says that we'll report the independent annual audit requirements. These reports are made available to the board, and the investment guidelines are reviewed and approved annually.
So on the annual reports, I'll just add 2 quick things. I'm advised that the staff has completed page 1, which is actually page 1 of the annual report, which is page 29 of your packet. So those questions have all been completed. So those will be in part of the final draft, in compliance with all of those as needed. And then one other thing is that there is in the annual report, there's a reporting of real property exchange during the year, and there's nothing as we've reported previously to this body.
Just have one more question. The city school district expense of $40,000, that's for the lease.
All right, anything else from your side?
The only other item is the mission statement and performance measurement report. They'll start on page 127. I don't believe we are suggesting any changes to our mission statement. We also have a rundown, a quick synopsis of our performance measurements for fiscal year 2024 regarding project activity, capital investment made, and number of jobs created and retained. This is obviously a condensed version of Olivia's massive spreadsheet, so it puts it in one place, and it's a little bit easier to absorb. So this is obviously, up on our website as well, and will be part of our formal audit submission process, this go around. So any questions on that, please let us know.
Any questions? No, I think we actually still have an open, we have an open motion, so at this point, unless there's anything else, I'll take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, pass. Okay, C, review, and then review is item C, review of management assessment of internal controls.
Sorry.
It's just the memo at the end.
Yeah. So, this is page 129. It's really a rundown of the risks associated with this agency's operations and the subsequent internal control systems in place. The majority of these, if not all, have not changed. Most are dealing with our compliance with PAAA policies, open meetings law, and, you know, the way this agency operates according to GML. Chris, I don't know if I'm missing anything there from a legal perspective.
Basically, this is just a synopsis of the fact that we have a lot of long-standing internal controls and none of that has changed this year. It hasn't changed in terms of risk, and that all of them are working as intentioned for them to do, or as intended for them to do.
All right, any other questions from the board or any other? Could I get a motion for us to recommend the management assessment of internal controls to the full board for a positive recommendation for approval? So moved. Second, all in favor? Aye. All right, now being done with new business, other business compliance report.
I will take that. For compliance, we have a few remaining outstanding board annual compliance forms. If that is you, I will find you after the meeting. But by next week, I may call you out by name, so we'll, because, I do have a printed.
Just state it's me,
Yeah.
fine. Darius, come on. We'll be,
I do
we'll
have
be.
printed copies, so I can provide those to you if that.
I did mine, so she couldn't call me out.
We also, at the very end of your packet, have a memo regarding ABO board training. There are some upcoming training dates we wanted to note. That is April 9th from 9:30 to 11 and April 16th from 9:30 to 11 a.m. Those are virtual. Registration instructions are included. We just ask that if you do decide to register, just let us know. And if you have any questions on that, the ABO does recommend board training every 3 years for board members. So also we do, if you need to know whether you're in compliance or not, just ask us and we can get that information to you.
Can you let me know?
Yeah.
I think they have, but
Yeah.
I believe you are. I don't have it right in front of me, but I'll send an email.
Yeah, that's probably gonna just send us all an email.
Perfect.
And before we close out the meeting, I just wanted to give kudos to Andy B. It's, March, and before March is a busy time for the finance department, and to Tom Libertucci and the Bonadio group. Thank you to all and to all of your hard work, and in particular, I just want to note Andy's consistent presence and value add that he's been to the team here.
Thank you, but we all, I think, will agree with that. That's for everything. With that, could I get a motion to adjourn? So moved. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.